Actually, no, I prefer humbuckers. This is the Tao guitar, a minimalist instrument design from Oz Guitar Works. For those of you who don't know, minimalism is a philosophy that centers on the idea of less is more. And we can find it everywhere from fashion to instrument designs and even music itself. Since minimalism is rooted in the belief that beauty and utility can be found in simplicity, designs are often sparse instead of ornate, muted instead of colorful, and debatably attractive instead of traditionally beautiful. But here's the thing, although the Tao is a minimalist design, if we dig a little bit deeper, there's also the opposite philosophy, maximalism. We have multiple wood choices and neck shapes, pickup hot swapping, different types of routing, and so on. We're going to get into all of those details today. But in a nutshell, the Tao guitar marries two polar opposite design philosophies and manages to offer it all for a reasonable price. And that's a guitar innovation. Now, before we get into the deep dive, there's a few things I want you to keep in mind. First, this guitar above all else sounds and feels great, which is of course the most important thing. It's crazy responsive and resonant, full of tones, and very, very comfortable. Everything you'd want from a high-end quality instrument. Now you have to keep in mind that this is a regular full-length guitar, even though it looks very compact. But just to give you an idea of how compact it really is, this is one of my go-to Parker Knife-like guitars. This is just the neck from that same Parker Knife-like guitar, and this is the entire Tao guitar. It's only a little bit longer than the neck of a normal guitar. And now I know some of you are thinking that this is just a Steinberger copy, and by that logic, a RG is a Strat copy, a Ref Star is an SG copy, hell, an Archtop acoustic guitar is a cello copy, which is a viola copy. Okay, I'm getting a bit silly now, but I hope you get the point. Oz quite obviously had influences, but most innovations are just that, a combination and evolution of multiple pre-existing ideas. And this headstock design is a great example of evolution. If you're new to headless guitars, the lack of a headstock can feel kind of awkward in lower positions. It's almost like as you descend the neck, you're kind of falling off of it completely. This is something you never think about until you get rid of the headstock. Headless guitars can also be annoying to store because they don't fit in normal stands. And as a result, some companies like Steinberger take to making specific guitar stands for their instruments. By comparison, the Tao actually has a bit of its head left, which serves two important purposes. The extra wood catches your hand as you descend, just like a regular headstock would. And after playing many different types of headless guitars over the years, I find that this extra piece of wood is strangely satisfying. It also allows the Tao to fit in normal hanging guitar stands. The Tao also has entirely original and flawless hardware. And to best illustrate this, I'm going to start with a few issues I found with Steinberger that I've documented on my channel in the past. But keep in mind, I only know these small flaws on Steinberger's because I really love those instruments, even though the hardware has some issues. The locking mechanism sits abnormally high above the neck, and it has sharp corners that you bump into in lower positions. And no, the redesigned Steinberger hardware does not fix either of these issues. And just to be fair to Steinberger, headless hardware is really difficult to figure out, and I've seen these flaws on other headless designs as well. By comparison, the Tao's mechanism is low profile and has smooth, rounded edges. The string lock mechanism is also very simple, and since the strings leave on an angle, there's no extra steps for ensuring you don't have sharp excess string poke. Now, you might be thinking to yourself that the height of a locking mechanism or the ability to hang your guitar on a normal stand, you might be saying to yourself, these are frivolous small details. But these are actually the things we experience the most as guitar players. After all, you probably pick up and put down your guitar and even change your strings more often than you use your push, pull, split phase, reversal pot thingy. By the way, the Tao can also split coils and do reverse phase and things like that if you need it, but more on that later. Most headless guitar companies also fail in terms of their neck options, and this is a pretty big deal since neck feel is tied with tone for the most important yet subjective spec preferences. And unlike a Strat or a Tele, you generally can't just throw on an aftermarket neck onto your headless instrument. Now, the Tao guitar does have a few stock neck specs. We have top-of-the-line Just Scar stainless steel frets, a 10 to 16 inch compound radius, and a standard nut without a zero fret, which means you won't have to replace the zero fret like I had to a few months ago on my Steinberger guitar. Anyway, but apart from those standard specs, You can choose from Warmit's full catalog of options, including neck shapes, wood combinations, scale lengths, and even scalloping. Now, my towel has a roasted maple modern C neck with a satin back, Paul Farrell fingerboard, and a 25.5-inch scale length. But again, these specs don't really matter since it's entirely customizable to your preferences. Nonetheless, I can confirm that the neck does feel extremely high quality and the fretwork is immaculate. Moreover, this guitar literally traveled across the country from California to New Jersey, and I even took it on a recent trip, which we'll talk more about later. Throughout this entire time, I've never needed to retune it at all. So yeah. So far, the tuning stability is incredible. A few other small details here. We have a bolt-on design, flush mount strap pins for the front, and then we have the truss rod adjustment on the side of the instrument. And if you need to make any huge changes, you can take off the neck as well. And there's another larger adjustment inside, but you won't need to do that. The tools that come with the towel are very high quality and they won't break while you're using them. And we also have a stacked volume tone knob to save space on the instrument itself. Now, as we move to talking about the body, we have even more to talk about, and I have a bit of a confession. When I first saw the shape of this guitar, I immediately thought to myself, there's no way I'm going to find it comfortable. Number one, I have abnormally long arms for my height. And number two, I generally find bigger guitars more comfortable for my body. And you'll notice that although I've shown many headless guitars on this channel, they always have a full-size body. And even when I bought my Steinberger, I went with a Steinberger model that has a full body. Nonetheless, I find the towel body very, very comfortable. It definitely doesn't feel like a standard guitar because the right arm angle and position is so different compared to a regular bigger body guitar. But I can actually imagine this design being more comfortable for some people than a standard guitar would be. Now, Oz has considered adding a fuller body or even just a skeleton like on some of the Yamaha guitars, but he decided against it once a few players reported finding new right-hand techniques because of the lack of a body. And I can confirm that this guitar does encourage creativity without inhibiting any standard guitar techniques with the right hand. And since there's no upper horn, high fret access is limitless no matter how you like to play or how much you move your left hand. And if you want to hear even more details about this guitar from the designer himself, Oz, you can check out my Guitar Craft and Other Stuff podcast, link below. Apart from the shape, the body is also extremely lightweight at about 3.6 to 4.5 pounds, depending on the pickups, which again, we'll talk about very soon. It's made from a combination of aluminum, wood, and carbon fiber, and you can get it in this gray color, or if you want to go full Joe Satriani, you can get it in the polished color. And finally, the body is completely curved, which makes it supremely comfortable no matter how you place it against your body. Now, all the tones you've heard thus far have been coming out of these bare knuckle PAF style pickups. But as I showed you in the intro, you can completely hot swap these pickups in a matter of seconds, and you can change them to noiseless single coils made by Zex Coil as an example. And there's also a lot of other passive and active options available. And for anyone who grew up playing video games that use cartridges, there will be something very satisfying about installing the different pickups on this guitar. It gives you that satisfying click feel and sound. Now, if the ability to quickly switch your pickups wasn't enough, we actually have a ton of other customizable features here. Located on the top of the guitar are 3 switches with 3 different settings: normal, tweak, and off. Depending on the pickup module, you'll have various options for the tweak switch, from coil splitting to phase reversal and lots of other things, all of which are accessible per pickup via a series of simple dip switches that you can set with the guitar. Again, this is all solderless. Now, me personally, this is where I'd probably stop in terms of my customization. But if you really love to tweak, we can go a lot deeper. For example, you can customize the tone and volume pot tapers. You can change between 50s and 60s style volume tone knob interactions. You can even select the exact style of treble bleed you'd like, and there's an included reference guide for all of that info. And again, this is something you can do very quickly without needing a drawer full of pots and capacitors and soldering tools. Now, to be fair, some of these dip switches are actually underneath the pickups themselves, so you're going to need a little bit of a tool to actually get in there to hit the switch, but I got used to it pretty quickly. And I'll just say it one more time, for me personally, everything is staying in the stock setting, but there is one feature that I did adjust, and it has to do with the output jack / strap pins. So I first saw the 2 strap pin design back when I played Kiesel headless guitars, and it helps to make sure that the guitar can balance when leaned against the wall. And it of course gives you another strap location option. But again, the Tao guitar takes that idea to the next level by adding customizable features to both outputs. Now there's a lot of different output options you have here, but I have it set up with the neck pickup going to one and the bridge pickup going to the other, bypassing all of the other tone controls and volume knobs. And by doing that, I can have a very nice jazzy tone with my neck pickup. I can then hit one switch on my axe effects and switch to a very brutal metal tone on the bridge pickup. I can do this without adjusting the volume knobs, hitting a switch on the guitar, or anything like that whatsoever. But of course, if you don't want to do anything like that, you can just use the stock settings, which have the pickups going like you would expect them to do out of the bottom jack. Now, if you've ever played a headless guitar, you'll know that there's a snappiness and immediacy with each note. Some of that is just the compact nature of a headless design, but another aspect of creating that snappiness and response is having very, very tight tolerances, which the Tao obviously has. And the bridge and tuning mechanism add to this overall efficiency. You'll see that each saddle is just one piece that mounts directly to the body with no additional parts, screws, and so on. In fact, the only adjustment here is intonation without height adjustment. There are ways to change the string height with shims on the bridge or neck adjustments, but the whole point of this simplified system is that the tolerances and consistency of the Tao are so high that you won't need to adjust anything whatsoever. And if you think about it, this actually makes a lot of sense for this particular guitar. Since the setup is so fine-tuned, when we go to switching to different capacitors or pickups, all those fine details, we can really hear every little difference. By the way, if the idea of minimalist music interests you, or guitar ergonomics, or really anything else related to guitar, you'll want to check out my Guitarcraft newsletter, link below. I personally believe that every guitarist should own some type of compact travel guitar. Now, the Tao guitar is again, first and foremost, an amazing feeling, high quality instrument, but it does happen to be compact and great for travel. Just like a Kiesel Vader or an Ibanez QX54QM. Anyway, we've been talking about travel guitars for the last couple of months on my Patreon, and I found that compact guitars are either inexpensive and low quality, or they're high quality but lack customization. And although I love my PRS guitars and my Abasi Concepts IMI guitar back there, when I go on a short trip with Mystery Girl like we did just last weekend, I want to bring a smaller guitar without sacrificing the playing experience you get from a quality instrument. After all, the most important guitar in anyone's collection is going to be the one that gets played the most, and for the average person, that's going to be a guitar you can grab while you're on the couch, easily take with you on trips, or just walk around your house with strapped against your body because of how lightweight it is. And I'm happy to say that the Tao is going to be the guitar that fits that role in my personal collection. And if you want to see more of my thoughts on other ergonomic guitars, you'll want to check out this video right over here.